The gunshots shattered the morning calm of Atlanta International Airport like a thunderclap. Travelers screamed, diving behind luggage carts and ticket counters as a black man in a faded Georgia Tech hoodie crumpled near Gate 14. Blood bloomed across his sleeve like some grotesque rose. Officer Jake McCullough stood frozen service weapon, still smoking his pale knuckles white around the grip. "Shots fired, suspect down," he barked into his radio voice, cracking. The irony, the suspect had been humming "Georgia on My Mind" while emptying his pockets at security. Behind the TSA checkpoint, rookie agent Naomi Washington felt her breakfast rise in her throat. She'd watched the whole thing unfold the way Dr. Marcus Carter had patiently explained the titanium plate in his shoulder from his college football days, the way McCullough's fingers had twitched toward his holster when the scanner beeped. "Sir, you need to come with me," the officer had said, and Marcus had simply nodded. Then 3 shots rang out. 2 missed. 1 tore through flesh. The terminal became a surreal diorama of panic. A businessman recording on his iPhone muttered, "That's Dr. Carter. He keynoted the cybersecurity summit yesterday." Nearby, an elderly white woman clutched her pearls, whispering to her husband, but he was so well-spoken. As if eloquence were armor against a bullet. Marcus pushed himself upright against a Hudson newsstand, his breathing controlled despite the pain. Paramedics rushed forward, but he held up a bloodied hand. "Don't," he said calmly. Then with deliberate clarity, "My lawyer's number is in my left shoe, and gentlemen—" He locked eyes with McCullough, whose name tag now read Officer of the Year. "Tell your colleagues the founder of Sentinel Cyber just became their worst nightmare." 4 hours earlier, Marcus had been drinking sweet tea at Mary Mac's tea room, reviewing acquisition plans. The waitress, a black woman with silver streaks in her hair, had refilled his glass 3 times without being asked. "You got that look," she'd said knowingly. "The kind that changes things." He'd tipped her $50, not realizing how prophetic her words would become. Now, as police tried to confiscate phones from witnesses, a teenage girl live-streamed Marcus, pulling out his CEO badge from his sock. The same badge that had been buried under his keys and wallet in the security tray, the one McCullough never bothered to check. The video went viral before the ambulance even left the tarmac. By sundown, Sentinel shooting would trend alongside photos of Marcus's modest suburban home, his Harvard diploma, and the $2.8 billion company website, where his bio read, "Believes security starts with seeing the human behind the threat." The terminal. He didn't buy it. He made them auction it off every last Starbucks in Cinnabon, with proceeds funding body cameras for every TSA officer in America. As the sun set over Peachtree Street, Marcus sat in his home office, stitches pulling at his shoulder, watching the news cycle explode. On screen, McCullough's attorney argued his client saw a threat where none existed. Marcus chuckled darkly, tapping his keyboard. A notification popped up. Sentinel v. Atlanta PD lawsuit filed. He leaned back, wincing slightly. The waitress had been right. Some looks did change things. And this time, the world was finally going to see it. Elena's fingers trembled as she slipped the smartwatch into her pocket, the weight of what she'd just recorded pressing against her ribs like a second heartbeat. Around her, the terminal buzzed with nervous energy travelers, whispering officers huddling, the scent of spilled coffee and fear thick in the air. Brent stood near the police. His posture relaxed now, spinning his version of events with the ease of someone who'd done it before. Aggressive, non-compliant, a threat. The words slithered through the crowd, infecting perceptions before the truth could even take its first breath. Then came the twist no one expected. A teenage boy in a Falcons jersey who'd been filming the aftermath on his phone suddenly gasped. "Yo, that's Logan Miles," he blurted, zooming in on the blood-stained hoodie. My dad works at Sentinel. That's the dude who built the whole damn internet security system for the Pentagon. Murmurs erupted. A TSA agent paled. Even Brent's smirk flickered. The kid kept going louder now. Y'all just shot a billionaire. Elena saw the moment it hit Brent, the flicker of panic in his eyes, the way his fingers twitched toward his radio like he could erase reality with a button. But it was too late. The kid's live stream was already exploding. Billionaire shot at airport, climbing the trends. Then the second twist, one Elena would never forget. A frail, elderly woman, her silver hair tucked under a church hat, stepped out of the crowd. Ms. Lillian, the airport's beloved snack vendor, who'd worked there since the days of segregation. She walked right up to Brent, her cane tapping like a metronome of judgment. "I saw everything, officer," she said, voice steady as steel. "And so did Jesus." From her purse, she pulled a flip phone, ancient but recording. The video was shaky, but unmistakable. Logan hands raised Brent's gun already drawn before a single word was exchanged. The terminal went dead silent. Elena felt it then, the shift. The way the air itself seemed to crackle with the weight of what was coming. Brent's lies were unraveling in real time, but the real bomb hadn't even dropped yet. Because across town, Sentinel's legal team was already mobilizing, and Logan, stitched up and silent in a hospital bed, wasn't just pressing charges. He was rewriting the rules. By midnight, every major news outlet would carry the same headline: Tech CEO's shooting exposes TSA's hidden quota for minority searches. Leaked documents showed Brent wasn't a rogue officer, he was part of a system. And Logan, he wasn't just a victim, he was the storm. As Elena walked out of the terminal that night, her resignation letter burning a hole in her bag, she glanced at the sky. Storm clouds gathered over Atlanta, thick and heavy. Somewhere in the distance, thunder rumbled. It sounded like justice. The paramedics hadn't even cleared the automatic doors when the first reporter shoved a microphone into the chaos. A local news crew, tipped off by the teenage boy's live stream, burst into the terminal like a SWAT team hunting ratings. Their camera lights cut through the chaos, landing on Brent's sweat-slicked face just as he turned to flee. In his hurry to escape the spotlight, Brent's elbow clipped a baggage scale. His TSA badge went flying, skidding across the floor like a hockey puck, right to the feet of Congresswoman Diane Martinez, who'd been waiting for her flight to D.C. She picked it up, her polished nails glinting under the fluorescent lights as she turned it over. The room seemed to hold its breath. "Officer Kessler," she said, voice dripping with the quiet fury of a woman who'd spent years fighting this battle in marble halls. "Funny, your file just crossed my desk last week." She didn't elaborate. She didn't need to. The way Brent's face drained of blood said everything. Those brushed under the rug complaints they'd been quietly forwarded to the House Oversight Committee. The silent ally, as paramedics loaded Logan into the ambulance. A figure in a Navy suit materialized beside the vehicle. Sentinel's head of security, ex-Special Forces, a man known only as Rhodes. He said nothing, just pressed a burner phone into Logan's uninjured hand and nodded toward the screen. A single text glowed. All footage from every airport camera and 14 passenger phones archived. Kessler's personnel file unlocked. "Your move, boss." Logan's lips curled into something that wasn't quite a smile. Pain meds couldn't dull this fire. Back inside, Elena found herself surrounded not by authorities, but by co-workers. The TSA agents who'd always rolled their eyes at her idealism now stood shoulder to shoulder with her, their badges deliberately unhooked from their belts in silent protest. One by one, they pulled out their phones, displaying the same video from different angles. A mosaic of truth. Brent was still screaming about federal offenses when the FBI walked in. The last thing Elena saw before they cuffed him was the moment his arrogance shattered, when he realized the ground had shifted beneath him. This wasn't just about one shooting. This was about every black man who'd ever been neutralized by a lie. And Logan Miles, he wasn't just buying the terminal, he was burning the system down. As the ambulance doors slammed shut, Logan finally let the pain take him under. The last thing he heard was the paramedics' radio crackling to life. "All units, be advised, we've got a code silver at Memorial. Press corps is swarming. Dude's trending worldwide." Somewhere in the static, he thought he heard his cousin Caleb's laughter. Tyler's fingers flew across the keyboard, his article taking shape with the urgency of a breaking news alert. But just as he hit save, his phone buzzed again, an anonymous message with a single attachment, Brent Kessler's full personnel file, including 3 buried complaints from Dallas and a 4th from Savannah that had mysteriously vanished from the system last week. The sender, just 2 letters, LM. Across town, Logan sat in a nondescript black SUV, watching the live feed of the airport terminal on his tablet. The screen split into multiple angles, security footage, passenger videos, even Brent's own body cam recording, all time-stamped to the millisecond. His tech team had already scrubbed every frame, isolating the exact moment Brent's hand twitched toward his holster, before Logan had even finished speaking. Back at the coffee shop, Tyler's article went nuclear within minutes, but the real explosion came when an unverified account tagged as Sentinel Truth dropped a 17-second clip no one had seen before. Brent in the break room just an hour before the shooting, laughing with another officer. "Watch me make this hoodie match the floor tiles," he'd joked, miming a draw. The timestamp proved it wasn't edited. By noon, the Savannah PD had Brent in an interrogation room. But Logan wasn't done. A new notification popped up on Tyler's screen, a secure video call request. He answered to find Logan's face bandaged but calm, filling the frame. "Mr. Finch," Logan said, "how'd you like an exclusive, the full story? Every document, every dirty secret." Tyler's pulse spiked. "Why me?" Logan's smile didn't reach his eyes. "Because your Kansas piece proved you don't just chase headlines. You bury systems." As they spoke, Elena sat in a federal building across town, handing her smartwatch to a stone-faced investigator. But what she didn't know, Logan had already ensured her whistleblower protection through a shell company so layered, even the FBI wouldn't trace it back to him. That evening, as the sun set over Savannah, the airport's digital departure boards flickered. For 3 seconds, every screen displayed the same message in bold red letters, "Neutralize this." Then the flight information returned as if nothing had happened. Logan watched from his penthouse as the news channel scrambled to explain the hack. He sipped his whiskey, the ice clinking softly. Phase 1 was complete. Tomorrow, the world would learn what happened when you shot a man who built firewalls for a living. And the firewalls came down. The boardroom door burst open before Jared could finish his sentence. A young intern face, pale, thrust a tablet toward him. On screen flashed a breaking news alert. Sentinel Cyber Systems files 250 Malrotor lawsuit against Savannah Airport Authority. CEO Logan Miles identified as Mr. M. Jared's coffee cup slipped from his fingers, shattering on the marble floor. Meanwhile, in a nondescript federal building, Elena sat across from 2 stone-faced investigators. They'd promised her protection, but the way their eyes kept darting to the door told her everything. Then her phone buzzed a text from an unknown number. "Check your email, and don't trust the men in suits." She excused herself to the restroom, pulling up the message. Attached was a video of Brent just last week bragging to another officer about putting a thug in his place after stopping a black college student for walking too confidently. The timestamp proved it wasn't isolated. It was policy. Back at the airport, chaos erupted as protesters flooded the terminal, their chants echoing off the vaulted ceilings. "Who do you protect? Who do you serve?" News helicopters circled overhead, their cameras capturing the surreal sight of travelers joining the demonstration, some abandoning their luggage to hold handmade signs reading, "I was there and saw it all." But the real dagger came at 11:47 a.m. Every digital screen in the terminal departure boards, gate monitors, even the CNN broadcast playing in the food court glitched simultaneously. For 30 seconds, they displayed a single document, Brent's signed termination letter from Dallas PD buried for lack of evidence, detailing how he'd falsified reports on 6 separate occasions. The cherry on top, a leaked email from Savannah's head of security, approving his transfer with the note, "Just keep him away from the VIP gates." Jared Phelps was mid-press conference when the screens changed. The reporters' heads swiveled, then their cameras. His carefully prepared statement about thorough investigations died in his throat as the crowd's murmurs turned to shouts. Behind him, the airport's PR director fainted clean away. Across town, Logan watched the live feed from his penthouse, his stitches pulling as he leaned forward. On his desk lay 2 items, Elena's official whistleblower protection paperwork, signed by a federal judge who owed him a favor, and a single boarding pass first class to D.C., where Sentinel's legal team was already preparing testimony for Congress. The game wasn't just rigged anymore. The board had been flipped. Elena's fingers trembled as she opened the folder. Inside wasn't just a contract, it was a blueprint for revolution. Sentinel's newest division public safety oversight with her name listed as Director of Ethical Security Practices. The salary made her choke. This is impossible," she whispered. Logan just smiled. "You think I bought an airport terminal just to redecorate? Down the street, a black sedan idled." Inside, Cassandra monitored 7 different surveillance feeds, one trained on Elena's apartment window. "We're clear for now," she murmured into her headset. But Kessler's got friends crawling out of the woodwork. She tapped another screen, pulling up a live feed of Brent's last known location, a dingy motel outside city limits where he'd been spotted burning documents in the parking lot. The trap sprung at 3:17 a.m. A shadowy figure slipped into the motel's back entrance. Not a cop, not a reporter, but a wiry teenager with a hacker's grin. Jamal Elena's little brother, who'd borrowed her keycard before she quit. He planted a thumb drive in the motel's ancient computer system, unleashing a worm that crawled through every device connected to Brent's burner phone. By dawn, Sentinel's servers would harvest every dirty secret, every whispered threat, every backroom deal. Logan knew the game wasn't just about exposing one bad cop. It was about the ecosystem that bred them. As Elena signed the contract, her phone lit up with a breaking alert. Savannah Airport Authority CEO resigns. The article quoted an unnamed board member. "We found discrepancies in hiring records. This goes deeper than one officer." Logan stood at her window watching the sunrise paint the project's gold. "They'll call me a vigilante," he said quietly, "a billionaire playing judge and jury." Elena joined him, gripping her coffee like a lifeline. "You could have walked away." Behind them, the TV flashed to a press conference. A tearful mother held a photo of her son. Another black teen stopped for suspicious behavior by Brent in Dallas. The caption read, "Kessler's 4th victim." Logan's voice was steel. "That's why I didn't." The screen changed again. A live feed from Terminal B where workers were already dismantling the TSA checkpoint. The Chiron read, "New security system installation in progress." Full body scanners replaced with AI threat detection. No more profiling, no more hunches, just math. The email sent shockwaves through Savannah's power circles. Jared Phelps nearly choked on his bourbon when his assistant read it aloud. "They can't just buy a terminal overnight," he roared, throwing his glass against the wall. But the attached 387-page contract signed by his own board during last year's budget crisis proved they absolutely could. Elena saw the news break on her new company phone, its encrypted screen displaying a single notification: Phase 2 initiated. She was already in motion, striding through Sentinel's war room, where analysts tracked Kessler's every move. "He's panicking," one tech called out. "Just tried to wire $50K to a Cayman account." Elna didn't smile. Freeze it. The genius was in the timing. While the world obsessed over Terminal B's ownership, Logan's team quietly deployed their real weapon, Project Lighthouse. Every security scanner in the airport now ran Sentinel's bias detection AI, flagging disproportionate stops by race in real time. The data poured in not just from Savannah, but from 14 major hubs where Sentinel had slipped the software into maintenance updates. Kessler felt the noose tightening. His burner phone buzzed with another anonymous text, this time a screenshot of his own bank records highlighting 3 suspicious deposits from Safe Sky Security Consulting. The caption read, "Funny how often consultants shoot unarmed men." Then came the knockout punch. At 3:42 p.m., every departures board in Terminal B flickered to life, displaying not flight times, but a live feed of Logan walking calmly through the very checkpoint where he'd been shot. The cameras caught every detail: the repaired bullet hole in the wall, the new AI scanners, the TSA agents standing stiffly at attention. He stopped at Kessler's old post and placed a single item on the conveyor belt, a nickel from 1965, the year the Voting Rights Act passed. The message was clear. This wasn't just business. It was reckoning. As lawyers scrambled and news helicopters circled, Logan stepped to a hastily assembled podium. The world expected fury. They got calculus. "Terminal B will become a prototype," he announced, voice carrying through the stunned silence. "Every security decision here will now be audited by algorithms that don't see skin color, just threats." Then he dropped the mic in the most literal sense, letting it clatter to the floor as he walked away. In a motel room 30 miles south, Brent Kessler watched the live stream with shaking hands. The last text arrived as Logan exited frame. "You thought this was about you." It never was. Outside, sirens wailed. The real arrest warrant wasn't for shooting Logan Miles. It was for the $287,000 in bribes he'd taken to look the other way on cargo inspections, a fact Sentinel's hackers had unearthed while everyone was watching the spectacle. The system didn't just fail Logan Miles that day in the terminal. It failed Brent Kessler too, and Logan made damn sure the whole world knew the difference. The hum of the HVAC system was the only sound as Logan let the silence stretch. Then he nodded to Cassandra, who tapped her tablet. Suddenly, every screen in the terminal lit up with footage no one had seen before: Brent Kessler's body cam recording from the shooting, but this time with Sentinel's AI analysis overlay. Red circles highlighted Logan's posture. Hands visible, no sudden movements. Compliance confirmed. Yellow text flashed over Brent's face. Elevated heart rate. Pupils dilated. No visible threat present. A janitor in the front row gasped. "That don't lie," he muttered, clutching his broom like a lifeline. Logan stepped off the platform, walking slowly through the crowd. "I could sue this airport into oblivion," he said, stopping beside a young TSA agent whose name tag read Nguyen. "I could make sure every one of you loses your pension." The agent's hand shook. Then Logan did the unexpected. He smiled. "But I didn't buy Terminal B to punish you." He turned to face a cluster of food service workers. "I bought it to prove something." From his pocket, he pulled a single nickel, the same one that had set off the scanner days before, and placed it in Nguyen's palm. "This cost 5 cents. Knowing the difference between this and a weapon, he looked around. "That's priceless." The room erupted, not in anger, in catharsis. A baggage handler started clapping. A Starbucks barista wiped her eyes. Even Jared Phelps, watching from the security office monitor, felt something shift in his chest. But the real mic drop came via text. Every employee's phone buzzed simultaneously with two messages. 1. Your healthcare premiums just decreased 40% effective immediately. 2. Mandatory bias training starts tomorrow. Taught by Elena Ruiz. As cheers broke out, Logan slipped out the service exit. The press would call it a masterstroke. The analysts would praise the strategy. But as he climbed into the waiting car, he only cared about one thing: the text from his cousin Caleb. You showed them we ain't just hashtags. Outside, the departure boards flickered one last time, displaying the new Terminal B motto, See Better. The morning sun cast long shadows across Logan's desk as the live feed played silently, TSA agents trying out the new AirGuard system, their expressions shifting from skepticism to shock as the AI flagged a white businessman's concealed flask but cleared a black teenager with sagging jeans in under 3 seconds. His intercom buzzed. "Sir," Cassandra's voice was tight. "We've got a situation." Kessler's at the perimeter gate with a reporter. Logan didn't look up from the security feed showing Brent unshaven, wild-eyed, waving a folder at a local news crew. Let him in. The trap was always meant to spring itself. By the time Brent reached the lobby, every camera in the building was rolling. He brandished the folder like a weapon. "This proves Miles set me up. That coin was planted." The reporter leaned in eagerly until Logan's voice cut through the atrium from every speaker simultaneously. Page 14, paragraph 3 of your Dallas PD file, Brent. You stopped a black college student in 2019 for carrying excessive change. The screens switched to show the incident report. Said his quarters could be improvised weapons. Brent's face went slack. Elena stepped out of the elevator holding a single nickel. "Funny," she said loud enough for the mics to catch. "This is all it took to unravel you." The reporter's cameraman suddenly panned away to a breaking news alert on his monitor. The Department of Homeland Security had just adopted AirGuard for all major airports. The Chiron read, "Largest federal contract ever awarded to black-owned firm." Logan watched from his window as Brent was led away in cuffs, finally understanding the game. This wasn't just about one terminal. It was about who gets to decide what safety looks like. Downstairs, Elena pinned the nickel to the lobby wall beside a new plaque, "First Piece of Change." Outside, the morning traffic hummed along Peachtree Street, oblivious to the earthquake that had just reshaped the skyline. Some revolutions don't come with fireworks. They come with receipts. Logan leaned forward, the weight of the documents pressing into the mahogany table. "Exactly," he said, sliding a single sheet toward Tyler. "This isn't about one bad cop. It's about the manual that trained him." The page showed a redacted TSA training slide, subjects exhibiting unusual calm. See Appendix B for demographic correlations, warrant heightened scrutiny. Elena's hands shook as she traced the footnote Appendix B racial disposition indicators. The play unfolded in 3 moves. First, Tyler's explosive article dropped at 5:01 p.m. just as Congress adjourned. Headlined, "The Algorithm of Bias: How TSA Manuals Teach Racism." It featured Logan's annotated notes in the margins. Would this flag a nervous white man or just a calm black one? Second, at 5:17, every major airport's departure boards glitched again, this time displaying real-time stats of racial profiling incidents per TSA agent pulled from Sentinel's hidden audit software. Savannah's data showed Brent Kessler's name atop the list with 147 disproportionate stops. Third, the knockout punch came via livestream. DHS Secretary Reynolds' mid-press conference about new security initiatives was handed a note. The cameras caught the exact moment her smile froze. She abruptly ended the event just as Logan's jet touched down in D.C. Cassandra watched the chaos unfold from Valeric's war room. "They're scrambling," she reported. DHS just pulled Policy 4.17 from their servers. Logan didn't celebrate. He was already on the phone with Elena, who stood outside the courthouse where Brent's hearing had just been postponed indefinitely. "It's starting," he told her. "But we're not done until the manuals are rewritten." Behind her, Brent emerged into the flashing cameras, his lawyer shouting, "No comment," over the din. For a split second, his eyes met Elena's, not with anger, but something worse, realization. He'd been a cog, and Logan had broken the machine. As night fell over D.C., a lone intern in the Capitol basement forwarded an email to every member of the Congressional Black Caucus. The subject line, H.R. 4421, the Air Travel Equity Act. Attached was the first draft penned by an anonymous, concerned citizen. Somewhere over the Atlantic, Logan's phone buzzed with a text from an unlisted number. "Appendix B is burning." "What's next?" He smiled and typed one word: "Everything." The fluorescent lights of the Senate hearing room hummed like a swarm of bees as Logan took his seat at the witness table. Every major network carried the live feed the billionaire tech CEO turned activist, his sling now replaced with a crisp navy suit facing down a panel of scowling legislators. The trap was set before he even spoke. Senator Whitmore, a 30-year veteran known for blocking police reform bills, leaned into his microphone. "Mr. Miles, you seem to think private corporations should dictate public safety policy." Logan didn't blink. "I think when the government fails to protect its citizens, someone has to." He tapped his tablet, and every screen in the room displayed a live map, red dots flaring at airports across America, each representing a profiling complaint filed in the past hour. Whitmore's face twitched. "Those are allegations, not convictions." "Funny," Logan said softly. "That's what Brent Kessler said about his Dallas complaints." The room erupted. Protesters in the gallery stood their T-shirts reading, "I was unusually calm, too." Camera flashes caught the exact moment Whitmore's aide slipped him a note. "Pull back. CBC whipping votes." Meanwhile, in a Baltimore row house, a former TSA trainer named Gerald watched the hearing with shaking hands. The screen showed Logan pulling out a dog-eared manual, his manual, the one he'd written in 2005. "This," Logan said, holding it up like evidence, "is how you weaponize a checklist." Gerald's phone rang. An unknown number. He answered to hear Elena's voice. "We know you tried to change the guidelines in 2012. Testify and we'll protect you." The dominoes fell fast after that. By midnight, 3 major airlines announced they'd adopt AirGuard voluntarily. The TSA union disavowed Policy 4.17. And in a quiet corner of Terminal B, a janitor named Hector paused his mopping to watch a group of TSA trainees, their new manuals conspicuously thinner, practice scanning passengers with Sentinel's AI. "Viste," he muttered to his co-worker, nodding at the screens. "El diablo sabe más por viejo que por diablo." The devil knows more from experience than from being the devil. As Logan's jet climbed over D.C., he watched the Capitol dome shrink beneath the clouds. On his lap lay a single sheet, the first draft of Gerald's rewritten training manual. The heading read, Section 1, See the Human First. Some revolutions start with bullets. This one started with a nickel and ended with the world watching. The Santa Ana winds howled outside the LAX conference room as Logan watched the final investor sign the agreement. The document, thick with clauses about equity audits and civil rights oversight, would become the blueprint for what pundits were already calling the Miles Doctrine. But the real victory came at 9:03 p.m. when Kessler did something no one expected. He walked straight into a CNN studio, still wearing his revoked TSA badge around his neck like a noose, and sat across from Don Lehman. "I was trained to see threats where there weren't any," he said, voice cracking. The camera caught the exact moment he unclipped the badge and slid it across the table. This needs to mean something different. The ripple effect was immediate. In Chicago, a group of black pilots staged a walk softly protest at O'Hare, marching through security in full uniform while the new AI scanners analyzed them in real time. Everyone cleared in under 6 seconds. In D.C., a Republican senator's daughter tweeted, "Dad just removed his name from the aviation bill," said he can't unsee the training videos Logan sent him. And in a tiny apartment in Inglewood, Elena's phone blew up with messages from former TSA co-workers, photos of them discreetly swapping out old manuals for Gerald's rewritten version, the pages still warm from the printer. Logan stood on the tarmac later that night watching a cargo plane take off with the first shipment of AirGuard systems. Cassandra joined him, her tablet showing a live feed of Wall Street reacting TSA contractor stocks plummeting, Valeric shares soaring. "They're calling you the Malcolm X of air travel," she said dryly. He shook his head. Malcolm didn't have venture capital. A text buzzed in his pocket. It was from the young boy who'd gotten the fist bump in Terminal B, sent via Elena. "My teacher said you fixed the airport. Can you fix my school next?" The wind picked up, carrying the salt scent of the Pacific. Somewhere over the horizon, a new storm was brewing, bigger than airports, deeper than policy manuals. Logan smiled and typed his reply. "Bring me your principal's number." The runway lights stretched ahead like a path. For the first time in his life, the man who built firewalls was tearing them down, and the world was finally ready to walk through. The mop water swirled around the janitor's feet as Logan passed Gate 9, the scent of industrial cleaner almost but not quite masking the memory of copper and gunpowder. On the wall nearby, someone had scratched 3 words into the paint with a key. He walked softly. The quiet rebellion had begun. In St. Louis, a TSA supervisor named Daniels pinned the AirGuard training manual to the break room wall, circling Section 3.2. Calmness is not a threat indicator. His team didn't applaud. They just nodded and got back to work, but the morning's passenger complaints dropped by 63%. Meanwhile, in that Savannah dive bar, Brent Kessler finally turned his phone back on. The screen lit up with a single text from an encrypted number, Channel 7, 10 p.m. He almost ignored it until the bartender switched the TV to the local news. There, in crisp HD, stood Gerald the whistleblower, testifying before Congress with Elena by his side. And scrolling beneath them, the Chiron that made Brent's bourbon taste like ash. Former TSA agent, Kessler's training record subpoenaed. The camera cut to Logan, watching from the gallery, his expression unreadable. The reporter's voiceover noted, "Sentinel Systems confirms Kessler's personnel file will be key evidence in the federal probe." Brent threw cash on the bar and stumbled into the humid night. For the first time, he truly understood this wasn't about destroying him. It was about exposing what made him. Back at Terminal B, Tyler's photo of Elena had gone viral. Not because of the plaque behind her, but because of what photojournalists noticed too late. The reflection in the glass showed Logan in the distance, watching not the camera, but her. The caption, spreading across social media, simply read, "The woman who pressed record." As dawn broke over LAX, Logan boarded his jet with a new file in hand. Not lawsuits or blueprints, but hundreds of emails from everyday people. A teacher in Detroit whose students designed "Walk Softly" posters. A Navajo grandmother banned from flights for speaking Dine. A white mom in Alabama who'd finally asked her son, "Have you ever been scared at airport security?" Cassandra buckled her seatbelt across from him. Where to next? Logan slid the file toward her. Everywhere. The engines roared to life, drowning out the world outside. Some revolutions start with a bang. This one started with 3 bullets, and flew further than any of them could have dreamed. The hearing room's air grew thick as Representative Alcott's face flushed crimson. He slammed his gavel, but the damage was done. C-SPAN's live feed had already captured the exchange, and Twitter erupted with replays that say trending nationwide. Then came the moment no one anticipated. A young staffer rushed to Representative Burnham's side, whispering urgently. The Congresswoman's eyes widened before she addressed the room. "I've just been informed that the President will address the nation tonight regarding aviation security reforms." The gallery erupted. Logan didn't react, but Cassandra's fingers flew across her tablet, pulling up a leaked draft of the executive order that would dismantle TSA's behavioral profiling program. She slid it to Logan with 2 words highlighted: mandatory adoption. Alcott looked like he'd swallowed a lemon. "This is an end run around Congress." Logan finally smiled. "No, sir. This is democracy." The ripple reached Terminal B instantly. Elena, watching the hearing from her new office, saw the notification first, a surge of resignations from TSA trainers in Dallas, Chicago, and Atlanta. Their LinkedIn updates all said some variation of seeking opportunities in equitable security solutions. Outside Gate 9, a janitor named Hector paused his buffing to watch a group of newly hired Air Guard trainees, half of them former TSA practice with the AI system. One, a black woman with silver streaks in her bun, demonstrated the new protocol. "You don't just watch passengers," she instructed. "You see them." Back in D.C., Logan exited the hearing to a sea of cameras. Instead of a soundbite, he held up a single item, the nickel from his shoe. The flashes nearly blinded him, but his voice cut through cleanly. "This cost 5 cents. Knowing the difference between this and a threat, he dropped it into a reporter's palm. "That's priceless." As his car pulled away, his phone buzzed with a text from an unknown number, Brent Kessler's last burner before turning himself in. "You win," Logan typed back. "We all do." The sun broke through the clouds as Air Force One taxied down the runway, its shadow stretching long across the tarmac. Some fights end with legislation. This one ended with a coin toss and the whole world finally calling heads. The hum of the terminal's HVAC system filled the pause as Logan reached into his pocket. The crowd held its breath, expecting another nickel, maybe a bullet casing. Instead, he unfolded a child's drawing sent to him by the boy from Gate 9. The image was simple but devastating. A stick figure with brown skin at a scanner, arms raised, while a faceless officer aimed a gun. Scrawled in crayon across the top, "My dad says this is why we always wear suits to the airport." Logan didn't need to say a word. The gasp from the crowd said everything. Then the twist no one predicted. A commotion at the back as the crowd parted. Brent Kessler walked in, rain-soaked and hollow-eyed Tyler Finch, trailing him with a live camera feed. The room tensed, several people standing protectively between him and Logan. But Kessler didn't approach the mic. He just stood at the edge of the circle, hands empty at his sides, and nodded once. Logan held his gaze, then turned back to the crowd. "Accountability isn't about punishment," he said, tucking the drawing carefully into his wallet. "It's about making sure no one else has to carry pictures like this." Elena stepped forward, then handing out stacks of documents, not legal briefs or policy papers, but handwritten letters from the 120 victims Marcus had submitted to Congress. Each marked with a timestamp and location: Denver, 2019. Orlando, 2021. JFK just last week. The town hall became something else entirely. A baggage handler from Miami stood to describe being detained for suspicious sweating. A college student showed the scar where an officer's dog bit her during a random check. And in the back row, Ms. Lillian, the elderly snack vendor, slowly raised her hand. "I've worked here since they made us drink from separate fountains," she said, voice cracking. "Ain't no machine gonna fix what's in people's hearts." As the stories poured out, something remarkable happened. The new Air Guard scanners, the ones Logan had installed just weeks prior, began beeping insistently near the food court. not for weapons or coins, but because their stress detection algorithms had flagged something unprecedented: elevated heart rates and tear production in 83% of white male passengers passing through. The system was working exactly as designed. It had found the real threats. Logan didn't smile. He just picked up the mic one last time and said, "Now we rebuild." Outside, the rain slowed to a drizzle as the first passengers began moving through the new scanners, no longer afraid, no longer targets, just people going places. And in the quiet of Gate 9, someone had left a single nickel on the floor. "Heads up." The runway lights blurred in the rain as Logan watched the last town hall attendees disperse. Kessler had left without fanfare, just a silent nod to Elena before disappearing into the storm. The media would dissect his confession for weeks, but Logan already knew the truth. Real change began when the system stopped protecting its worst actors. Then came the text that changed everything. Cassandra's phone lit up with a Pentagon area code. She listened for 30 silent seconds before turning to Logan. "They want air guard for all military bases, and they're pulling TSA's federal funding." The victory should have tasted sweeter. But as Logan walked back through Terminal B past the new scanners, the retrained officers, the "See Better" motto glowing above every gate, he paused at an unremarkable patch of tile, the exact spot where he'd bled. Elena found him there holding 2 coffees. "You okay?" He took the cup, staring at the floor. "I keep thinking about the people who don't get endings like this." She followed his gaze to the tile, then did something unexpected, pulled a nickel from her pocket, and pressed it into the grout like a tiny headstone. Now it's a shrine and a starting line. The next morning, 3 things happened simultaneously. 1. The White House announced the dismantling of TSA's behavioral profiling program. 2. Brent Kessler turned himself into the FBI with Tyler's documentary crew in tow. 3. A 6th-grade class from Atlanta's poorest district sent Logan 327 handwritten letters, each containing a coin from their pockets. By noon, every major network was playing the same clip: Logan kneeling beside a little girl at Gate 9, helping her press a quarter into the grout next to Elena's nickel. "Does it hurt?" the girl asked, touching his healed wound through his shirt. Logan shook his head. "Not anymore." And for the first time since the bullet struck him, it was true. The terminal hummed around them, not with fear or suspicion, but with the ordinary chaos of travel. Somewhere overhead, a departure board flickered its new message, visible for just 3 seconds, before returning to flight times. "Walk softly. Carry big change." Outside, the rain stopped. The clouds parted. And as the first unafraid passengers stepped into the scanners, no one noticed the janitor buffing that one peculiar spot on the floor, leaving the coins untouched, their edges gleaming like new promises under the fluorescent lights. The screen faded to black, then reignited with a single word in bold white letters: "Finn." For a heartbeat, the audience held their breath until the letters dissolved into a flurry of airport security footage from across the country. Philadelphia. A TSA agent high-fiving a black teen in durags. Phoenix. An elderly Latina woman laughing as the scanner cleared her metal knee brace in seconds. Portland. A white dad explaining to his son why they no longer get randomly selected. The clips accelerated a montage of ordinary moments that would have been impossible a year ago, set to the sound of coins clinking into collection boxes, each one funding civil rights audits at small airports nationwide. Then the twist. The camera pulled back to reveal Logan watching the same footage in Terminal B's empty concourse, his reflection superimposed over the images. A whisper cut through the soundtrack. "This isn't an ending, it's a receipt." The screen flashed one last frame, a nickel embedded in concrete at Gate 9, its edges worn smooth by thousands of passing footsteps. Etched into the metal barely visible. "Walk softly, leave change." Epilogue. Text Air Guard is now operational in 14 countries. Brent Kessler serves as lead trainer for the Anti-Profiling Task Force. Elena Ruiz was elected to Congress in 2026. But the real story, it's happening at an airport near you. Camera pans up to the departures board, every flight now marked on time.